Welcome to the Soul Revival Podcast, where we have deep and meaningful conversations exploring modalities, tools, and healing, guiding you back to your most expansive soul self. So you knew in season 2 we had to change some things up. And so we're going to be doing some fun episodes like this. And Autumn and I are referring to it as mirroring. So each of us will talk about a topic, and then the other one will reflect back on their stories, opinions, and thoughts. So instead of recording them live at the same time, we're mirroring them back to each other. So, this is an episode that I am looking forward to talking about. I have so many examples of this. It's not even funny. So, I'm going to narrow it down to some of my top ones. But what I want to talk about today, and Autumn will be reflecting back to you, is around when our intuition is backed up by reality, by fact, by events, by information that you didn't even know when it came to you. So I've had so many examples of this. It's not even funny. I'm going to tell you a funny one, and then I'm going to share one that happened to me just recently within the last month. So the precognition came in about a month ago, and then the reality and the fact-based information came in afterwards. So the first story I'm going to share is, well, I probably have two funny ones. So the first one I want to share is one where I was driving with my dog Valor, who has since passed. And well, he's been reincarnated back to me. So if you missed that whole conversation, I would encourage you to go to season 1 and listen to the episode we did with Connie Fuchula. And we did a separate episode where I talked about Valor and his reincarnation as well. But I was in the car on the way back from a therapy session with Valor, and he was in my passenger seat. And I think it was a Saturday morning. I'm sure it was a Saturday morning, actually. I was in Roger's old car, which was very, very fast, the same car that he drove. And it was very, very fast car. And it was very fun to drive and fun to drive fast. And I wasn't in particularly in a hurry, but I did want to go home because it was a beautiful day and I was going to head to the park to work out after I dropped Valor off and got ready to go. So I was going, I guess, a decent pace, and all of a sudden, a car in front of me slammed on the brakes. And I know people say all the time about places that they drive, but here in the state of Tennessee, I found out after I moved here, people don't have to take driver's ed. So there's some challenges on the roads here. And I was in the left-hand lane, and there was a turn lane in the middle, in the median. And then the right-hand lane was like a hospital, and there was a car in the right-hand lane. The car in front of me like slams on the brakes, and from the left lane starts to go right into the hospital all the way across the right lane, and almost caused an accident. And so I went down the middle lane, hit the gas, and my car just took off. And I wasn't aware of it at the time. My like physical brain didn't make the connection that I had gone past a cop. In retrospect, like I do kind of remember seeing the vehicle off to like in a parking lot on the other side of the street, but my human brain didn't really connect all the dots. So I was totally blissfully unaware of his presence. And all of a sudden, I got an intuitive hit to go to the gas station. Now, I did not need gas. The gas station was on the right-hand side, just slightly ahead of where I was. I did not need gas. And as I mentioned, I wanted to get home and go to the park. So I hear it twice, go get gas. I hear it a third time, and this time it's like more forceful. And so I pull into the gas station, and I'm literally like begrudgingly like to Roger, Spirit, like, why am I here? I don't even need gas. I'm like literally thinking those thoughts and like having a conversation with the other side in my head, like kind of being like a little insubordinate human about it. Why do I need gas? I don't even need gas. Why am I here? And I'm looking at Valor. I actually said to Valor in the passenger seat, I don't know why we're here. I don't even know why we had to stop. And all of a sudden, I look up and the cop goes flying by, and he was going so fast. And I immediately knew he was looking for me. And so I like was like, oh, that's connected. Dot dot dot. Bing bing bing. That is the answer. That is why I had to pull in here and get gas. And it was actually funny too, because when I pulled out of the gas station, he happened to be going by going the other way. But the way the exit for the gas station is, like the way I went out, he actually never even noticed me. And I saw him do a couple passes looking for my car. But so that was one where intuition and the other side like tapped me, and it was 100% validated. I avoided getting a ticket because I listened after they had to tell me a couple times, but I listened and pulled into the gas station. Another funny one, and this time I did not listen, but I'm starting with amusing ones. They're all lighthearted, but I think the essence of this is when we get these nudges, there is a reason. And I know that the more we allow for and listen to and validate the hits that we get with the small things every day, the more likely we are to listen because we've retrained our subconscious mind to recognize the importance of our intuition and allow it to override our egoic human-based thinking. So the more you do this, it's like a muscle, it's like going to the gym. And I know that every time I hear people's stories like this, it validates me tapping into my intuition more and anchoring into the energy of listening when my intuitive brain says to do something, when my soul self knows that I'm supposed to do something or not do something. And every time we use these muscles on the small things, it builds it, strengthens it. So when something big happens, it tunes you in more, makes you listen more, but also makes you more resilient and also makes you accept things that aren't meant for you faster. So you might have an attachment to something that you feel like you have to have, you really, really want, and you're begging for it. But God, source, your angels, your loved ones on the other side, they have something bigger and more juicy ready for you, but you're just so limited in your perception, you can't see it yet. And so that's why these stories matter. So, getting gas and avoiding a ticket is like a fun story, but it also anchors you into truth. And that truth is that every time we listen, every time we let ourselves trust in the fact that we're being guided, every time we make that choice, it strengthens that muscle for when it is a huge thing, when it is a huge decision, whether you're making a decision about a relationship or a job, or you're navigating a grief or trauma journey. No matter how big or small it is, the more we anchor into this energy, the more we are able to tap into it automatically when something big is happening. My next story is just a funny one, and this happened last year, and then I'll tell you the one that just happened recently. I probably have so many of these. If I like sat and wrote them all down, I know it's a huge list. And honestly, I try to live this way every single day. It is my intention to live this way every single day. And I would encourage you to set that intention as well, because the more we anchor into the intention of retraining our subconscious brain and leaning into trust-based, heart-based energy, the more we set that intention, the easier it is for it to come to us as a natural state. So my second one is I have a decent sized pantry, and it's filled to the brim with things. And I was putting some stuff away and I needed to get something out. And I had a stack of cans, like almost not at the top tier, but probably the third shelf down from the top tier. And I kept hearing in my head that I needed to like rearrange these certain cans before I took out the one next to them that I was trying to get at. Now, my human brain was like, there is a clear pathway to the can that I want. Why would I move all those other ones just to get what's already available to me? I can see it. It wasn't like it was buried or anything like that. And so I, again, resisted the message um, to move the stack that needed that my intuitive brain was saying to move. And I was like, no, no, I can, like, it's right here. I can clearly get this, and I do not need to rearrange the cans that are to the left. And so that happened. I think that battle in my head happened twice, and my egoic brain overrode my intuitive brain. And I proceeded to take out the can that I was stubbornly trying to get out without moving anything else around it. And a huge can of beans hit me smack in the forehead, like right here. And I think Autumn and I were actually recording an episode that day. I don't know. I remember having a line. I was doing some video that day. I was recording something that important that day. And I had a line, a cut across my forehead where it actually broke my skin. And it also left a nice little bruise. So I had to do a little makeup job to hide that. And it was just validation. I was like, okay, that's why I was supposed to move the other cans. I did not listen. But also, that's important. So, the times, even if it's something funny, goofy, like not important, like getting hit in the head with a can of beans, again, the more we anchor into the learning that happened. So, I got the message twice. I didn't listen to the message, and the outcome was what it was. I got hit in the head with a can of beans. So it's just validation that we need to like follow that initial instinct. And we hear this all the time, all around us, but just using different words. So when you think about like true crime shows on TV or detective shows on TV or victim accounts of things, like so often we hear people say like they had a bad feeling about doing something or going somewhere or about someone. And we've all had this in our life, whether it's big or small, important or, superficial. We all have this happen in our lives where it's like, okay, we felt like we weren't supposed to be there. We felt like we weren't supposed to be with that person or do that thing. And when we don't let our intuition guide us, is when we can, either get in a major jam or get hit in the head with a can of beans. So, those are my two stories from the past, and then I'll share my one that just happened recently. So, about a month ago, I was making a decision. Those of you who know me know I have show dogs, and one of my dogs, what has done really well, but he's both of them, both of my guys that show now are young, and when they show, it's I would say it's sporadic. It's not something consistent for them yet. They're young, but it's important for them just socialization wise to get out there. And they've done so well. And my one little guy has done amazingly well, amazingly well. He's shown well beyond his years and beat some major competition. And there was a show that I had actually thought, oh, I'm not going to enter it, and wasn't sure that the person who shows him was even going to enter as well. So it was like a afterthought, like, oh, it's not going to happen. And then at the last minute, a bunch of things happened where he was going. And so I was going to enter. And my intuition, now the show was, there's a pre-show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then there was a specialty show, which is like just kind of, for those who aren't in the dog show world, it's like an elevated event for either your breed or your category of dog, like, a terrier or sporting dog. This was a specialty for that category. There was a specialty on Friday, and then the main big show, which there was actually 55,000 dogs, according to the announcers, entered in the show. It's the largest one in North America, but there was the big show, which was Saturday and Sunday. And so for his breed, we showed on Sunday. Normally, I've done this show with my dogs in the past when my dog Mateo was campaigning and out there showing a lot. He always did this show and he did all the days. He did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If there was a specialty available on Friday that fit for us, we would do that. And then he would always do the weekend one. But something in me said, don't enter Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I was just like, okay, I don't know why I'm not entering Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I will just enter Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I kind of kept hearing, and I'd even actually asked Autumn about it just to, again, check in with somebody else to see if they were getting what I was getting. And she said the same thing. She just said it differently. Like there's some reason he's supposed to be there, and there was a huge reason he was supposed to be there. But there's some reason he's supposed to be there, which I also was feeling, and it ended up he ended up it was important for him to be there for multiple reasons. But also that she was getting the sense that she'd be limited. So she didn't know all the dynamics of the show necessarily, but same thing, just a different way of expressing it that I was to enter him those days. It was so much so that I was fully intending on listening to my intuition and wasn't going to enter him at the last minute. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll enter him. Now, when you enter a show, there's like an online portal that you can use, and it like instantly help. Like you pick the shows that you want to enter, you pick your dog, you pick the category they're entering, and it kicks back a receipt, and then you get an email confirmation of the entry and then an email summary that gives you all the details of the entry. I was going into a session and I had done his entry right beforehand, and it was closing that day. And I had decided like at the last minute to also, I entered Friday and the weekend, and then I went back and was like, oh, after I did those two and got those two through, I went back and was like, oh, I'll do the weekend. I'll do the week too. I'll do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, even though my intuition had said not to enter those. It wasn't until a couple days later I realized that I put everything through, but I never got the confirmation. The order never went through. So his entry for those days he wasn't supposed to be entered did not go through. So totally on intuition and totally my spirit team leading the decision. And as it turned out, we did amazingly well on Friday and Sunday. And I had somebody say to me, oh, it would have been a total waste. And they gave me the reasons with the way the show was set up and the judging and everything on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, why it would have like made no sense for him to have been entered. Details that I didn't know actually. And so, because I hadn't paid attention to the judges or lineup or anything like that, I just was surely just trying to get him entered. And so it's just an example of my intuition, which was firmly planted in like my human brain. And like logistically, it made no sense to not, if he's going to the show and it wasn't close, if he was going to the show, it made no logistical sense if you were to sit there and look at it, dissect it, for him not to be entered all the days. If he's going to be there, he was going to be there anyway, so we might as well show. But my intuition was like, no, just enter him on Friday and the weekend. And then Spirit intervened, and it was confirmed that he was only supposed to be entered Friday and the weekend. And so the data matched my intuition, basically is the end game. And so often I would encourage you, when you have these things happen, don't just dismiss them, and go back and look at and think about and express gratitude when you get these things, because they really are a gift. And like I mentioned earlier, the more you anchor into this energy that this is available to you, and this anchoring in of energy of trust in these hits that you get, we get them all the time, whether we're paying attention to them or not. The more we get them, the more we're able to recognize them, and the stronger we make this muscle. So I'm so excited to hear Autumn's mirror reflection back of this conversation, and I'm sure she has many examples to share as well. But those are the three I'm going to highlight for today. This is a topic I feel like we could probably have so many examples. I know Autumn and I both try to live every single day in guidance and tuning into our intuition, and we are human too. So it is important that we make this a practice. And the more we practice, the stronger and stronger we get at listening and guiding ourselves through our human experience with our intuition and our soul self, our highest self, versus our egoic mind. And with that, I will leave you.
We want to express deep gratitude for everybody who sponsors the podcast. It really, really matters. It allows us to invest our time, effort, and energy in bringing you the most relevant spiritual content. So if you're feeling called, please subscribe, click like, leave a review, or sponsor the podcast. We very, very much appreciate you.
Ooh, I got tagged in. What a fun way to bring in 2026 with these mirror episodes. This is such a vibe, so much energy. I just got done listening to Lindsay's part one, or her intake on intuition. And, intuition, I have been living by since I was a very, very, very young child. I think we all have been, and then over time we just kind of separate ourselves from it. But it is a muscle, it is a strength, it is something that we all have instilled inside of us. And just as Lindsay has said, when things happen and they come in the physical realm from your intuition and listening to your intuition, be so grateful for it, because then your subconscious mind will bring it in more and more and more and more. So I have so many stories, but I really just want to say, first of all, I didn't take Lindsay as a fast driver. So that story had me laughing. I'm glad that you pulled in and got gas. Valor was probably like, let's keep driving, Mom. Let's keep going, especially if you were going fast. That's so fun. I mean, if you're doing it safely. So I want to kick off by also, sorry if you're hearing the dings, by also emphasizing that I did see the egg on Lindsay's forehead. It was a Zoom call with me that she had immediately after. It was red. You could tell that she was hurting, and she was so upset that she didn't listen. She's like, I should have just listened to them. I should have just listened. But she was moving fast, and that's what happens. We are so busy in our day-to-day life where we are just moving quickly and not listening. So that's why presence and meditation and slowing down our mind to let our hearts take the lead is so important. All right, so yeah, I am going to go ahead and start with a couple stories of how this has happened in my real life. So one is a little vulnerable, it's raw, and but it's a part of my story and it's a part of my life. So I about 3 years ago, I was in bed with Mark and we were eating pretzels. And actually, you know what? Let's take this back a few decades ago. So, when I was in second grade, I was moving to a new school, and I was going into third grade. And the summer of second grade, I was in my uncle's house and we were playing hot potato, but it was with this like quote unquote bomb type device, which we probably shouldn't have been playing with, but it played music. And then when the music stopped, the cap would fly off. So we were playing hot potato with this thing. And when I had caught it, the cap flew off, and it flew off right into my two front teeth. So back in third grade, going to a new school, I went with no front teeth. Like I had front teeth, but they were like, they were just horrible. I had to get them redone. So I got permanent crowns put on eventually, and I think in high school because I had to wait for all my teeth to grow in. So I had temporary teeth until high school. So long story short, I'm laying in bed now with Mark, and we're eating pretzels, and all of a sudden I bit down. I'm like, what was that? What? I spit it out, and I'm like, Mark, what is this? And I could tell by Mark's face that it was my tooth. It was my front tooth, my front left tooth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is like when I first started my business. I'm, kind of putting myself out there more. I'm like, I need this tooth. And I kept praying for confidence, and boy, did it come in the best way possible because I went to all the dentists the next day, and the way that the crown broke, there was no just being able to just glue it back in. It was a whole step-by-step process. So I was going to have to pay out of pocket because insurance doesn't cover cosmetic issues, and I don't agree that teeth is cosmetic. Teeth is definitely an emotional and mental um, wound when they are gone, especially the ones that are very visible. So, um, I was ready to pay out of pocket for a flipper, and this dentist is like, "Well, it takes like 3 months. They got to ship it, and then it's got to come back. It's got to be readjusted, and then they got to ship it out and get and come back." Well, it was literally like the last dentist that I went to. I probably went to like six or seven to try to get like any intake that I could to get my tooth back the fastest. I even took it and went to Amazon to like form the tooth manually, and that was a horrid experience. I'm not very creative with teeth making. So, fast forward that day, I'm on my way home. I'm telling Mark, this is just the life that I have to live temporarily. It's okay. Like I'm okay with it. I'm healthy. I'm happy. My kids are happy. Or at this time, it was just Mackenzie. I'm like, I'm okay with it. Like I will show up for myself because it's authentic and um it's a tooth. Like overall, it's just a tooth. So I'm on my way home and all of a sudden I pass another dental place and I forget the name of it. But I Aspen Dental. I pass this Aspen Dental place and I hear my intuition screaming at me, turn around, pull in there, turn around, pull in there, turn around, pull in there. And at this point, I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm probably grieving, I'm probably going through some feelings. Like, I just didn't care anymore. I just didn't care. And I didn't want to turn around. But Spirit was like, turn around and go in there now. Like, that was like, it was like urgent, right? And usually when urgency happens, it's usually not so much your intuition, but I just felt a different groundedness to this circumstance. So I turned around and I went into Aspen Dental. And it just so happened that day they had like a big sale going on where flippers were a certain amount off if you signed up for like their yearly program, which their yearly program was so much cheaper than actually what I was even estimated at the other facility. And the best news of all, I got the flipper that day. So they were able to like 3D print it and get it that day. So I think I went like maybe a max of 2 to 3 weeks without a tooth, like going to stores and things like that. But it did give me confidence. Like I literally just loved honoring myself even through that tough time and showing up without trying to sugarcoat it or make it less than what it was. So that was one that I, really am so thankful and grateful for Spirit for because I'm like, and myself for listening because I was really being stubborn in the process of that. But intuition, it comes so sudden and it's something that's just there and then goes and there and then goes away and there and it comes back and goes away. And this can happen like within like a 5 second period, but it's the energy feels different than when it's coming from your mind. So, it's so important to stay in flow, to start your day with intentions, to ask your angels to bring in the breadcrumbs that are meant for you. It's so important to remain in the present moment. Um, and I have, a couple more stories that I'll share, but, we're all constantly being guided. There is constantly a force that is higher than us guiding us. And even when I was a child, I remember like my dad would not pick me up if I'm at my friend's house and I would have to walk home at like 10 o'clock at night, being in, fifth, sixth grade. And I would be terrified. I would be terrified. But that intuition always made me feel safe. Like always knew where to look, where to be on the guard, like when to hide, all of these different things that my intuition was such a saving grace in. And I also remember being younger and on my way home, there was always this church. And I knew that if I was on the grounds of the church, I was protected. So I would always like that would be my midpoint, and I would just like be able to breathe and exhale on my run home because it was always so terrifying to be in the dark. But to keep moving on, this is another thing that This could be like a physical manifestation, but I think that it's important to talk about because I had a grandma that I was very close to, and over the years, she's just completely cut ties to me. And she would send me letters in the mail here and just recently, actually, probably like the last 5 years. And it was a good relationship when it was secret, quote unquote secret. So I was asking my angels and my guides to have us meet, like just have us run into each other in public, have us meet in public, like do whatever needs to be done for me to just hug her again. And so 2.5 years had passed, and my aunt had asked me to come clean her house. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll come. And she asked me to fill up her water. She's a superintendent, so she's always busy, and I just love to help. It's like a joy of mine. And I get paid for it, so it's a win-win. Um, so I take her waters and I fill them up. I'm an hour and a half away from my actual house. And I just think that's very important to state. So we go to the store, or I go to the store. I'm filling up the waters, and it's like 8 in the morning. And I go to check out, and here is a town. This is the town I grew up in. So I'm on the way there. I heard that I was going to run into someone. I was going to run into someone. And so when I'm going to check out, I keep hearing go by the sushi aisle. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to run into anyone. I'm in and out. Like, no. And they're like, turn your cart around and go by the sushi. I'm like, it's 8 in the morning. Like, why would I go by the sushi? Finally, it was just like that strong, like, grounded energy force. It's like, just go by the sushi. So that's how I played in my head. I mean, it's still the same energy. It's never, changing personalities, but but I turn the cart around and I begin to walk by the sushi. And sure as shit, Grandma is walking by the sushi, and I knew it was her, and I don't think she knew me at first, but she walked right past me, and I was like, Grandma? And she turned around and I gave her the biggest hug and she gave me the biggest hug, and it was the best like connection. And it was so nice seeing her, and I was so grateful for my spirit team for organizing this on the other side and just making it work, because even that store was 45 minutes from her house. So for her to be there when I was there, it's just a miracle in itself. Unfortunately, she has gone astray again. So hopefully down yonder, we will connect again. But for the meantime, it is what it is. I want to talk about too, with all of my e-topics and really being sure that I was ready to heal and bring a miracle in and really listen to my intuition and be guided by my angels and my loved ones on the other side. I wanted a sign that was more concrete, and I didn't know what the sign was. I just knew that they give me all of the signs. I wanted something to be brought to me that like I would just anchor into and be like, okay, like this is it. I'm ready. And Mark was the one that did this. So he was at work and he took a picture outside of his work truck, and it was of four cardinals. And he sent me this picture of the four cardinals, but instantly I knew there was such a deeper message, and the message went so much more in depth. Um, because there was a to-go container on his dashboard. So the way that the picture was taken was four red cardinals in a tree together. And then the to-go container looked like an ultrasound. And in the ultrasound, there was another cardinal. So I have four babies in heaven, and that represented the four that are in heaven. And then the to-go container being the ultrasound picture and the cardinal being in there, I just knew without a doubt, my intuition was like, Autumn, this is it. Like, you are ready to put the pedal to the metal and to bring this in. Like, you are ready. And so I listened to that. And Marky is gonna be one in a week. One in a week. I cannot believe it. And there's so many other ways to bring this in too, because Mark, my fiance, and I keep bringing him up, but he is he just stays in the present moment. He doesn't really get into too much. He's just there to emit love, and that's what he does. But sometimes, he has emotions, and so spirit's always kind of tapping me to his intuition. So for an example, he does these zins. They're like pouches that you put in under your gums, and he was looking for his Zin container, and he couldn't find it. He couldn't find it, and he was getting really stressed, and he was, his emotions were swallowing him. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go to the store. I'm gonna have to go buy another Zin, even though I just bought this container," and all the things. And I kept hearing, like, just have him ask his guides to show him. Just have him ask his guides. So I'm like, Mark, why don't you just take a deep breath in and ask your guides to show you, like, and imagine it in your mind where it's at. Like, just ask them and then see what they show you. And so he starts to be sarcastic and, put his hands in a prayer state. And he's like, guides, angels, please show me. But when he was putting his hands in the prayer state, his hands were in his pocket. So he pulled his hands out to put it in a prayer state, and a dime, or maybe it was a nickel. It was a silver coin, not a quarter, comes rolling out of his pocket on the kitchen floor. So of course we're watching this roll, and it lands underneath the counter. And so when we're watching where it lands and he goes to go pick it up, it landed right next to his Zin container. Like, there is no way anything could have been more real and physical to show him where that was than in that moment. And I think that he really anchors into, listening more and trusting what is being shown, and living life that way. It really is a way to release so much pressure of control and perfectionism, because in the end of it all, it doesn't really matter, and we're not in control. And there's something so much more powerful, Christ consciousness, guiding us and leading us to where we need to go in this lifetime and where we're headed in this lifetime. And, anchoring into what we do know and what we are being told and how we are being guided is going to get us there faster. And it's going to make life fun. And it's going to be so much better when we realize that our egos keep us small. They keep us protected, but they keep us very small. So letting that intuition kind of override that mental state, which, I mean, every day is a practice. Every day we are practicing. Nobody actually really knows. And every day allowing your heart to practice and trusting that intuition more than that logic mind can really bring in so many miracles, so much magic. And it's really a way to co-create your life with the highest force that is, and that's love. And what a better way to live than that? So I hope you guys liked this mirror episode. It was so fun. I hope we do more. I know we'll be doing more of these. They're just, very easy to maneuver through. So if you enjoyed this, leave a comment below, leave a review, head over to our Facebook community page. Let us know, give us the tea. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm pretty sure Lindsay's going to love this when she's listening to it when it's released. But I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll catch you next week at the Soul Revival Podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Follow our podcast. We release a new episode each and every week, and join us on Facebook inside the Soul Revival community. Come be a part of the magic. We'll see you there.